and Michael Ibarra joining us this evening. Mike and Ronnie.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome. How are you all doing?
We're doing really good. Thank you for having us.
We are excited and honored to have you all. It is absolutely an honor to celebrate Black love all year round, but especially in the month because Black love is Black history. The stories you all tell, the wisdom you share, the love you have, it is a display of everything Black, of everything beautiful, and Black excellence at its finest. So it is very important to make sure that we honor you all this evening. So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. For those of you just tuning in, again, you're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. You're listening to The Sentiment. And today we are honoring Black love with the beautiful couple, Mike and Ronnie Ibarra. And we will start by asking, what are you sipping this evening?
San Pellegrino.
San Pellegrino.
Yes. With lemon and strawberries.
That actually looks refreshing. Fancy. It looks good. Tonight, I'm actually sipping a little bit of Stella Rosa Black. So typically I have tea, but tonight it's just been a little bit of a celebration all weekend during the week. So yes, it's been great. And that's what I'm sipping this evening. So, cheers.
Cheers.
32 years, right, this year?
Yeah, 32 years this year.
What? How amazing is that? Most people can't make it 3 months. Y'all made 32 years. That is a blessing. That is a blessing. Talk to me a little bit about the hype. How, y'all been married 32 years. Tell me about some of the favorite things, the most amazing things about one another that you all like. Let's start with you, Mr. Ibarra.
Well, I like the fact that my wife is very loving and caring.
Mm-hmm.
And she's highly tolerant. She has to be married to me. So that's a lot of what I like about my wife. I like the fact that she's a super great cook. I mean, I wouldn't be as big as I am if she wasn't. But that's pretty much a lot of the reasons why I love my wife so much.
Nice. Uncle. Veronica, share a little bit of what you love about your spouse.
I love his strength. It was one of the first things I actually knew when I started feeling that I was falling in love with him. He is amazingly strong. He's always made me feel safe. And I think that's really important when someone tells you that, especially at the worst times in your life or a difficult time in your life, that it's going to be okay. And just by looking at him, I know that it's going to be okay. I trust that it's going to be okay. His security, the security that he's given me through his love is what is one of his really special qualities.
That's beautiful. How important is that for women to be able to feel secure and be able to feel safe? The height of what you see, Michael, you're saying, you love how loving and caring she is. And I believe that women can reach their full potential and purpose of oneself when we have that space where we are safe, where we do feel secure and we do feel loved and taken care of. That is vital, and that's very important. Thank you both for sharing. When you talk about one of the things you said, even when you seen him or at the time in your life, you were saying the strength is something that you recognize. What made you, what brought the awareness that to you, Michael, that, you know, she's my wife, she's the one? When did you have that moment? It sounds like she knew, you know, there was something special in you and how you love and what was secure, but what was it about Veronica, about Ronnie, that made you think, you know what, this is it?
Um, I would say it was we hung out for a few years as friends, and as we got to know each other over the first couple of years that we were in the same social sphere, I uh, I started picking up on signs that that she was a special person, and so then we started to date a little bit, and then it seemed as though right away at that point I knew she was a special one for me, but I don't quite think she felt the same at the time. I mean, I'm not going to put words in her mouth, but it just seemed as though we had a fairly good connection. Um, I mean, our relationship, it definitely evolved over a period of time. I would love to say it was love at first sight, but I don't believe in that. That's just me. I think I like to get to know someone, and that's what did it for me, was taking the time and the opportunity to get to know someone, and realizing that in these different times and different situations, how she responded, and that did it for me, because she was always right on point with her response. I mean, a lot of people say nowadays ride or die. I wouldn't say it was anything like that, but I do feel that the way she conducted herself and handled herself through a variety of situations, that
Mhm.
that was what appealed to me.
You said a mouthful. We'll get into it. So, would you like to add anything, Ronnie? You look like you wanted to add a little bit about when you knew, because he seems to think that you might not have known right away.
I'll tell you, it was actually a situation. I was 20 years old, and I had went to have a physical, and they found a lump in my breast. And that, I was completely and totally terrified. And at the time, um, they sent my doctor sent me to a specialist, and they did a biopsy. And at that time, it took like a week before the biopsy came back. And so I told him, and he was very supportive, and told him that I was overreacting or whatever. And so the biopsy came back, and it wasn't cancerous; it was negative, but I still had the lump removed. And so he asked me, did I want him to come with me? And I said no, that was fine. My mother and my brother were going to go with me. And he said, okay. He said, well, I'll be there for you after it's over. So I went, I had this surgery. It was a day surgery. I came home. And when I got home, he came to the house, and I was really still kind of groggy. And he came to the house, and he bought me flowers, and he sat on the couch, and I put a pillow in his lap, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up, he was still there with my head in his lap. And that's when I knew that I think this is my guy, because I know that when people are ill, it's a big pressure. And we were really young.
Mhm.
We were really young, and I had already been through some medical issues, and I had lost my father, and I knew that support, and I was so scared. I had never had surgery before or anything, and I was so scared. And for him to spend the whole evening just letting me sleep in his lap, and he was 21 years old when he could have been kicking it in the streets, partying, doing whatever. He was letting me sleep in his lap while he sat there. And to me, that I had never got that care from anyone other than my family. So I was like, gosh, this guy is special. He's really special. He's different from everybody else I've ever dated or ever known. But of course, my ego was a little big, so I couldn't let him know at that time. That's how I felt, because I didn't want to scare him off or anything. But that's when I knew for sure that he was the guy that I wanted to spend my life with. But I knew we still needed some time to get to know one another on a more personal level and what we wanted out of life. And but yeah, I would say that was when I knew that I was in love with him, was then.
Absolutely. That's absolutely beautiful. 20 and 21 years old, to show that amount of care and amount of compassion to one that you knew. He knew what you were to him, and to have the foundation of friendship to be able to sustain you all in the midst of all of that. That is absolutely beautiful. You all even have the producer at the radio station right now talking about aw in the notes. It's absolutely, he said, y'all making me cry. That's,
all of that goes on around here both ways,
I could say so much to that, but we wouldn't even have the time. But that is young women and young men. I don't want to say they don't have the capacity, but they don't even understand those type of moments. It's all these different I've talked to so many young adults, and what they're telling me, what they equate to love and what they equate to security and safety, and what they equate to relationship, and what makes it successful, or what makes it long suffering, all those things. It blows my mind, because they don't know old school love. They don't know. And I'm not saying the old school, the wives get beat and the church tell them don't leave. I'm not talking about that type of stuff. I'm talking about, like I said, the long suffering, the patience, the kindness, the respect, the honor, the care, the compassion, right? The resilience, the perseverance, just the quality of love. Like, they don't even understand that anymore. And it makes me sad. And I am blessed to know that I have it.
Mm-hmm.
People in my life like you all that have mimicked, not mimicked, but have blazed the path and blazed the trail of what it's supposed to look like, what it looks like when you laugh and play with one another, and that you actually like one another, and that you weather these storms, and that you persevere and move forward, right? And it's not perfect, but we know it has purpose, and it perseveres above all else. And so to me, that's what it's all about, right? And it's supposed to inspire, and that's what you all do on so many levels. And I want to appreciate you all again for sharing that piece. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. How long were you asleep? Do you know how long you were asleep?
Oh gosh, hours.
It was like 3 or 4 hours.
3 or 4 hours.
Yes.
It was a long time.
You just had a procedure, right? So I'm thinking medication, like all those wearing off. I'm thinking you would sleep for a good while. I'm sure you had a puddle of drool and everything.
I would sleep, and and then when I woke up, it was like, well, what do you want? Do you need something? And he went, and he told Mama, she wants her pain medication, and I took my pain medication, and he sat there the whole evening, I finally ate something and, we watched a movie. But I mean, it's just the point. We hadn't officially been dating that long. And he just didn't have to be there.
Right.
And I just felt that, if he's there now, and we were kids, how you thought in your 20s, you think you have, or early 20s, you think you have problems and issues, but you really don't.
Right.
But so I figured, I was like, if he's here now, in the future, when things did get tough, he would be there. I trusted that he would be there, and he was.
Right.
And he has been such, we've been through so many trials and tribulations, with our families personally. We had one child, and then it was 7 years later than we had the next one. So that was like a real change in life. Because we were spoiled with the one child. And so, I mean, we've been through so many changes and ups and downs, but there was one thing that I feel that's really, really important that I wanted to say, is that after he had proposed to me and we were talking about being married, the one thing that we decided and we talked about was that we were getting married to stay married. We weren't getting married to see how it goes.
Right.
When you get married, you have to have the idea. You have to make the promise that you're getting married to stay married. We're not getting married to, oh my, I'm bored, or it's getting tough, so let's get a divorce. That's not it. You're getting married to stay married. And sometimes that means working through tough situations and tough issues. But that's the way you should go into it. And the point is that I'm not saying that there's not sometimes when you do all you can, and in your heart that it's time for you to get out. Because I think that everybody that gets married is in love to some degree. I don't believe people just get married just to be getting married. I don't think that happens. But sometimes things don't work out. And you do have to step back and say, okay, am I hurting myself? Am I hurting my family? Danger by staying in this relationship? And sometimes some of the answers to the questions are yeah, and you need to back out. Absolutely. But I don't, there's some things that we held in high standard. As far as infidelity in the marriage, we pretty much decided that we weren't going to, that would be a reason for our marriage to end. Drug abuse would be another reason for our marriage to end. And of course, physical abuse would be another reason for our marriage to end. Those were some things that we don't know if we would have been strong enough to work through. But anything else, we felt that, we could be mad at each other, we could holler, argue, whatever, but we would be able to work through it. So you have to go into it with that positive attitude. Marriage, loving someone, relationships are hard. And there comes times that you really have to work at it, not because you're happy, but mostly because you're mad or you're not satisfied or you don't agree. And a lot of times for me, it's very few, but a lot of times you might be wrong.
Very few times you're wrong, huh?
Sometimes you're wrong and you have to, swallow it and say, now this doesn't happen to me much, but you have to swallow it and say, okay, I'm wrong. You were right, I was wrong. Sometimes you have to do that. There's been some cases where me and Michael have had conversations and we can't come to an agreement. That's something else that I'm not saying everybody has to do, but when a hard, strong decision has to be made and neither we can't agree, I let him make the decision.
Absolutely.
Because he's the head of my household. And I put that faith and that trust in him.
Mm-hmm.
So I let him make the decisions. Now it went right sometimes and it's went wrong sometimes. But of course, when it's wrong, I don't say anything about it because that wouldn't be right. But that's something else. When there's a hard decision to be made, women are strong, women are resilient. We head our families when we need to, but sometimes it's nice to have someone that you can trust in that would make a decision that would not hurt you or his family if it's a hard decision to make.
Absolutely.
And that I feel is really important.
Absolutely. One question that I wanted to ask you all, now that you're talking about what works and some of the situations that you've had and how you handled it, what makes it work? What is the language that you both speak? Is it honesty? Is it loyalty? Is it trust? Is it communication? What makes it work for you two?
I would say a lot of it is communication. A lot of it is everything that you just stated. Honesty, loyalty, and trust. Those are all a key elements of our relationship.
Right.
Honesty can be brutal. It ain't nice all the time.
Right.
But we look at it as though we'd rather be honest than fake. And, who knows what comes of it in a negative situation.
Right.
So it is definitely a matter of being honest almost to a fault.
Okay.
And yes, you do have to have ultimate trust in that person.
Communication.
Definitely a lot of communication.
Yeah, a lot of communication. And sometimes that's hard too, because a lot of times you have to find the words so you're not mean. Just like you said, you're not mean about it. And sometimes you are. But it's better to be mean and get it out than don't say nothing and yeah. So we talk a lot before you get involved or before you make the commitment.
Right.
I think a lot of people, you talk on the phone and now it's texting and you're doing Snapchat. You're doing a lot to communicate, but make sure that your communication is quality.
Yeah.
Quality communication.
Quality communication, your likes, your dislikes, your hopes, your dreams, everything that is important to you. So that way, that if you can support this person in their life moving forward.
You hear that from the Ibarras who have 32 years, y'all. Don't send your representative, especially when you get to the point where you're wanting to move forward and build a life with someone. Honesty to a fault, quality communication, because you need to know if you want to support that person and who they're going to become moving forward. That's a gem right there, because it's not about just the present, right? If you're be in it and you're saying we're getting married to stay married, then you need to be able to, even the person that you don't know that you're going to become, right? But the quality conversation helps you to understand the characters of that person, the beliefs, the values of that person, and not necessarily know exactly what they're going to become, but at least know what they aspire to be. That's huge. That's a quality gem. Absolutely. That is a quality gem. So with that saying, you all have been speaking so much to people who are aspiring to be married, single people who are listening in, married couples who are listening in. What is some advice for married couples who are struggling? What do you believe some wisdom or some key advice would be for a married couple that is struggling that wants to stay married?
One thing that I would say is acknowledge your struggles, find out what they are, And there is a way to work through most things. The one thing that I've always tried to communicate with my wife is the fact that the good times are great, and there's a whole lifetime of good times. The negatives, which is just human nature, stand out. I would say and I'm just throwing this out in our situation. I can't tell about everybody's situation, but the negative will always stand out, but it's such a small percentage of the relationship. You wouldn't have gotten to this point of being together if there wasn't way more positive involved in your relationship. Don't let a minuscule amount of negative take your relationship away from you.
That's good. That's absolutely good. You all, we're going to have to do this again. The one thing that I hate is that time goes by so quickly. And I think that it is so important for young people to hear wisdom, because even in the Bible, it says, we shall be led and we should seek wisdom from those that have gone before us. And so it is very important to hear how you all are making it and to continue to do those things that we know are the best things to increase relationships with one another. And so I want to thank you all again for joining me. I would hope that you all would come on again soon. I don't want this to be just for the month of February. I want to honor Black love all year. So maybe I'll have a specific topic next time that we'll talk with other couples about. But thank you again for coming on. I appreciate it. You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. The next sound that you'll hear will be the news. Thank you again for joining us and for listening into The Sentiment. Tune in next Wednesday at 6 p.m. live. And be kind, be gracious to others, be gracious to yourself. Just be aware of those who are in your space, because you never know who is hurting. So always show love, always show grace, and lead with love. Until next time.
It's just different.
Thank you for listening to The Sentiment. Please join me next time with the next topic and the next guest that graces us with their presence. In the meantime, be blessed and be gracious and kind to yourself and others. Mwah.
Na, 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 na.